Hi, I'm looking at the Master Settlement Agreement as it's summarized, and I'm looking at it from the point of view that if I was sitting back in the room where Brown and Williamson was doing its settlement with not its settlement but its program to anticipate litigation and to prepare a computerized system back in 1988, and I was there between 1980 and 92. And so I'm looking at it from that perspective, and let's just run down what I see. And if I was sitting in that room in 1988, 99, 80, 89, and I'm looking at what all the things, what's here, and what it has in terms of a meaning. And I'm working for the tobacco companies, and I'm working for a law firm trying to anticipate what this meaning is. They came to a settlement. This is the settlement. The parties of the settlement were 46 states plus Florida, Minnesota, Mississippi, and Texas. And it's now been almost 13 years. And what's the change in what's the change that you see? But as a person who's working for the company, I'm looking at this in terms of the strategy and what has happened. All right. First of all, they made the settlement in 1998, and all this money went into various directions. And essentially, the states would receive $206 billion, which seems like a very small amount of money compared to the foreclosure crisis. And Bear Stearns and the tort monies that came in. But 25 years, 206 billion, and the upfront payment of 12.742, annual payments beginning April 15, 2000, 1,83177 billion through 2025. Okay. And a strategic contribution somewhere in the neighborhood of 8.61 billion. Goodness knows. I don't know. This has a date line on it. And then the National Foundation, whatever that is, 250 million over the next 10 years. Public Education Fund. This is interesting. At least 1.45 billion between 2000-2003. Now, Estate Enforcement Fund, 50 million one-time payment, and the National Association of Attorneys General, 1.5 million over the next 10 years. Per year, $1.5 billion. Okay, that is essentially what was received, and I'm looking at it analytically from, let's say I'm going back to 1989. I'm looking at this as a coder, as a person who's working as a coder in the subjecting code of a project for Brown and Williamson. Well, if I knew that this was going into the issue, the first thing I would have to think about is, hey, this is just in 1989, it was probably a decent amount of money. In 2012, it seems like a ridiculously small amount of money that someone's using somewhere. The one thing that strikes me as absolutely radical beyond expectation is the enormous amount of money, which seems to be enormous no matter how you look at it. What are they doing with it? Is the National Association of Attorneys General. First of all, these guys hired private attorneys to execute their deals, and some of them came in at the very last. They just signed off, and so every attorney general somehow has a part for the next 25 years from 1998 on, or whenever this began. Actual beginning. There's a little staggering here. But as a coder, I just say, that's really remarkable. And then, what are you doing it for? And what can they possibly do? Just get more money? Or are they going to have a strategic way of dealing with some kind of defiance by the tobacco industry? Listen, this is just, nobody's going to violate anything if they can keep the stock market clear of lawsuits and anything that would frighten the tobacco. This is small change for tobacco companies who would raise their prices, enormous prices, because this is a pittance by any concern. So then you have a public education fund. Well, as coders, we knew. In the subjective coding aspect of things, back in 1988, 89, 90, if you saw something about public education, you knew this was just rotten apples. It wasn't going to do a damn thing. Not one thing would come out of that. So then you go to, that's 1.45 billion. The state enforcement fund, for what? I mean, you're going to have people, Russian mobs and everybody running tobacco from one state to another, from Canada, from Mexico, whatever. It doesn't matter. Essentially, it just baffles me that all of this is about money. Upfront payments, downfront payments, states will receive. Now, this doesn't have anything to do with the lawyers. The lawyers who received additional funding, a whole different matter there. But let's just look at what you got for your money. At a glance, we have, and I'm going to code this. All right, if someone came to me and said, code this document, ban tobacco characters in advertising, I would have to code that to somewhere in between maybe a 2 or a 3. What's the point? There's really no significance here. It would not be privileged, and of course you would code it to non-attorney. And cartoon characters in advertising is absurd. I know that a lot has been said about this, but nobody really cared about this in the tobacco company, certainly not in the coding project. That was just nonsense. Okay, so somehow, where do these people get these ideas? But this is number one. Ban those cartoon characters. What does it mean today? I mean, I think it was referring to the Camel tobacco codes, which was for its time an interesting thing. But you're thinking 25 years here? No, this would have been a non-issue, coded to basically C, A, B, C, whatever, 1, 2, 3. Coded to. I forget how we coded it. I think it was like 1 was significant, highly significant, hot document. 2 was coded in a different form, and then you got down to the bottom in 3, and 3, this would have been coded to free. So what? 3, nothing. Restricted brand, I'll go on, restricted brand name sponsorship of events. Well, this would have gone to promos, and promos were generally in target marketing or marketing. And so a promo was always a 3. I mean, very seldom did you have anything that was going to be a 2 or a 1. I mean, it just wasn't that significant. So here you are. This is what you're getting. Banning cartoons, and you're going to restrict the brand name sponsorship. This is a joke. And then finally you get to banning outdoor advertising. Listen, nothing from outdoor advertising was ever accomplished. It was just a means of getting like a 2%er out there. That's a 2%er. Again, a number 3. You're not looking at anything. This is nothing insignificant. So far, cartoons, sponsorship or promos is really what it is. Banning outdoor advertising. This is foolishness. So you got three of these that are absolutely nothing. They're threes, 3 and 3 makes sense. You know, makes no sense. The next one is banning use access to this is called sampling. Again, promos, a promo, and this would have been banned. This concept would have been a 3 as well. There's no significance in it. It's hardly significant because by the time this whole concept came about of having some kind of agreement, they were pretty much out of the business of handing out samplings and Cool in the Gang, and that had been long before. It's just not happening. Then it said, then number 4 here in terms of the advertising and marketing promos, setting minimum standard of the package size. Okay, that is so irrelevant. It would just not even fall in the purview of any kind of significance whatsoever. So you have already started something that is what you're after, and its meaning is nothing. So for all this money, or all this that the tobacco companies were just laughing at you. Now I'm sitting in the room in 1988, 89, and 90, and I'm looking at this, and now I'm coding it. I'm coding what you got. You got C's. You got C's and D's for what you did. 1's hot document. 2, a little significant. 3, not significant at all. So in the reward category of what you did to promos and marketing, you got all 3's. Nothing. Okay, that's what you got. Now, here's the interesting part of what you got in your settlement. Changing corporate culture. Well, that's not really something that's going to happen. They're going to find a way, and you're going from the 1990s into the computer age where things can just go anywhere, where you have Blackberries and iPhones and various things of that sort. Somehow things do change. And there's no control over, you can't predict how many little things. But anyway, the first one is require the industry to commit to reduce youth access and consumption. Come on. I'm going to have to code that too. You're going to make a requirement on the industry for what? To not make a marketing to youth. Well, first place, they deny it. And secondly, they don't have to. They really don't. It's just going to happen. And the next one is disband tobacco trade associations. Oh my God. Boy, that would be a 3 as well. I mean, why are you concerned? Now, here's one. Restricts tobacco industry lobbying. Well, there's a different kind of lobbying. What they did was they took out the TI, and also the CTR. Unfortunately, the CTR, because there was a lot of hot stuff there. But when you took out tobacco industry lobbying, did you really? Lobbying would be normally a 1. But under the circumstances, you're restricting it. Listen, in a day and age where we have presidential elections that are going to cost over $1 billion on both sides, and congressional elections and Senate races that are going to cost another $1 billion, your amount of lobbying that goes on is going to always be in the back rooms anyway, the smoking rooms, so to speak. Well, keep on going down here, and you find out there's not one hot piece here that has anything to do with anything that's going to happen. And this is what you got for your tobacco settlement. And this is what has been going on for over 13 years. Now, come on. Is this a reality? I don't want to associate myself with it. And yet, I have to admit, unfortunately, if I was sitting in that room today, I'd code you all 3 so far. And I'm going to continue with this because it's a very significant matter to me to at least apologize for having had something to do with this. Not only that, probably starting the whole thing. And unfortunately, you didn't get anything for your money.